Imagine a Christian college so desperate for worldly approval that congratulating an alumnus causes an institutional crisis. C.S. Lewis wrote that modern education is designed to create men without chests. In our ghastly simplicity, we castrate and bid the geldings be fruitful. But not at New St. Andrews College. We don't aspire to be the evangelical Harvard, selling our spiritual birthright for a pot of pious platitudes and federal financial aid, or doubling down on DEI until we are DEAD. Tucked away in the chimney of Idaho, surrounded by rolling wheat fields, pine forests, and fully intact bulls, we offer a Christian liberal arts education for outlaws and pirates. We don't feed the victimhood that afflicts young snowflakes, and we refuse to be manipulated by activists wielding their skin color and pronouns, or nice guys wielding their respectability and angst. And when the French are storming the Bastille, we won't tuck tail and run from empathetic mobs. No, we won't be steered by the emotional sabotage of the left, because we're anchored to the Word of God. Our aim is to graduate leaders who shape culture under the Lordship of Christ. And when the Lord elevates them to positions of power, we'll celebrate the men and women of courage that we've launched into the cultural melee that surrounds us. We'll even congratulate faithful alumni of other institutions. So congratulations, Russ. You too, Pete.
But redemption is real.
And JD, tell Margaret we said hi.
I don't really care, Margaret.
New St. Andrews College. Don't be a steer.
What if you could join a network of business leaders who share your Christian values, who reject the separation of faith and business, and who have a fierce vision for success? Welcome to Business Makers Network, a network that strives to create community, build intellectual wealth and practical business knowledge, and grow thriving businesses for the kingdom. We're not just another business network. We are a community of unapologetic Christian leaders who understand that success in business blesses our customers, blesses our families and employees, and in the end drives greater profits. All of Christ for all our business efforts as we aim to take the talents God has given us and turn them into 30, 60, and 100-fold. With a combined net worth already exceeding $1 billion in committed memberships, our members are reshaping the business landscape while staying true to our Christian values and taking dominion in the lanes God has paid for us. As a member, you'll gain exclusive access to our Business Makers Network app, discounts to live workshop events, network calls with key influencers, access to like-minded Christian business leaders, a pool of hands-on intellectual wealth and practical business knowledge, mentorship and menteeship programs. We will be rolling those out over the coming year. Read-only access for the tier above you for educational purposes. Invitations to our annual corporate partner dinner. Networking events at the Fight Laugh Feast conference. We offer membership tiers designed to match your business journey. From our exclusive double diamond level for industry titans, to our green membership for promising startups, to our MVP tier that is looking for a community of Christian like-minded business leaders. There's a place for every serious business leader in our community. Your network is your net worth. Join Business Makers today and become a part of a movement that is changing the face of Christian business leadership. Visit our website now to secure your membership and step into a community where faith, business, and success align. On immediately. Hey, y'all, welcome to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Pastor Toby, No Chalk Knocks. I'm Waterboy, and Rachel Jankovic with her new book that my daughter's going to be reading this summer, Don't Be Dumb.
No, it's no time.
I know, no, but it's basically don't be dumb. No time to be dumb. Don't be dumb. Even though I'm 45, I still feel a little dumb. So I'll be reading it also. In other words, that's the point as a father.
I do. Yes. Like as I was flipping through it, I was like, it's just like a little bit funny. I like feel a little bit funny. Like, I mean, I need to know about these things. I have teenage daughters, but I'm also like, yeah, I'm really glad Rachel wrote this book, and I feel a little funny. But anyways, business owners, your company struggling to grow. What if I told you that the right employee could grow your business by 5, 10, or even 25%? You'd be crazy not to take that deal, right?
Man.
That's exactly what Red Balloon Recruiter offers. Our personalized source and screen process connects you with top talent, increasing revenue and reducing costs. So visit redballoon.work today and transform your hiring. It's It's going to transform your hiring. That's what it says. So redballoon.work. Also,
you just reminded me I need to text them. So I'm actually texting Red Balloon right now.
Yeah, that's what you do.
I'm glad. I forgot. I got to text them.
Yeah, glad it's efficiency, using your time well. Thanks for joining us. And if you haven't yet liked and shared the show, we would appreciate it. Our producer Bree would especially appreciate it.
Yeah, she made Toby do it.
She made me like and share the show. So if you would like and share the show too, Bree would be happy.
And imitate the host.
Apparently. Are you concerned your child's current education won't give them the skills necessary to succeed in any area of life? Consider homeschooling with classical conversations. By applying the classical Christian model of education, classical conversations curriculum, that's kind of a tongue twister.
Was that a misspelling? Or
no, I just can't read today. Encourages students how to learn and how to think for themselves so they can adapt to every challenge life throws at them. Join the over 50,000 families in 60 countries who have chosen to educate their children with classical conversations by visiting classicalconversations.com, and you can add a little /FLF to show them that we sent you there. classicalconversations.com/FLF. We're grateful to have Rachel Jankovic in the studio with us today. You've been here a number of times with us.
I have.
And you came back.
Yes.
Somehow you came back. We're so grateful. Thank you, Luke, for sharing.
Yes. Bree did a good job.
Rachel Jankovic is the wife of Luke, homemaker, mother of 8.
8?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
She has written several books, including You Who?
Who? Not the drink.
I don't know. I'm not good at this.
Yeah.
And Loving the Little Years. She's also one half of the What Have You podcast. She's married to Luke. I mentioned that already. And they have 8 children. Also mentioned that. And they are keeping her doing whatever is next as fast as possible. Did you write that?
It's too true.
Did we get that from Canon or something?
I mean, this is May. This is the end of the school year.
Yes.
This is the time when that's how you
the ladies, my wife says that the ladies refer to this as Maymageddon.
Yes.
Maymageddon.
Yeah.
Is the insane moments.
And May got so bad that people started moving things into April. And now it's April and May. It's just crazy.
No, me and my wife were supposed to record Water Break today, and Annie 2 hours before was like, I can't do it.
This is not happening.
It's not happening.
This is not happening today.
Maymageddon.
So I'm told. Okay, I admit. My producer says there are plenty of girl books out there. Aren't there lots of girl books out there? Are there lots of girl books out there?
Probably.
And why do we need another one?
Probably because we still have problems. I would not say that I've read a lot of the girl books.
Okay.
So this is not
you don't fill your time.
No. I can't really speak to the other girl books.
Okay.
I mean, when I was
honestly, I can't either. I have no idea.
I do know some of the trends of it. Like when I was in high school, it was like chicken soup for the teenage soul or things like that.
Okay.
So I'm sure there's a lot of that. I think most of the things for teen girls from a Christian perspective are probably very sentimental, soft, tender. You are so beautiful.
My girl books were Little Britches. Yeah.
Those are not really girl books.
No, but they're cowboy books.
You know, I know the Little Britches series. I read
such a great series. And Dragon's Tooth. My kids love. That's my favorite Nate series, Dragon's Tooth.
It's a different genre.
Yeah, I know, but that's the point. That's probably what they should be reading.
Instead of down his girls is like, I've got a girl book for you.
Yes, here you go.
It's called
Ralph Moody.
It's called The Dragon's Tooth.
Yes.
So, but what are you hoping to accomplish here with this? What drives this?
I think initially when I decided to write this, I did have 4 teenage girl daughters. Now now we're moving out the upper end of the teens. So
college,
now I have a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 15-year-old daughter. And they all have friends and they have classmates and they have, so I was way more from junior high through college around teen girls or teen girl issues and teen girls who grew up in the faith, in the church, and there are just some blind spots. There's things that's like, okay, we should talk about how your faith actually informs even the littlest things. It informs what you think about fashion trends. It informs how you view what you're doing for entertainment. It just informs a lot more. It's not like you live your life, whatever you think is cool, and then separately you're a Christian.
Right.
And this was really an effort to have more conversation that connects the two, where it's the casual passing things connected to ultimately your faith.
Your Aunt Lizzie.
Yeah.
All through.
Yes.
These are letters to teenage girls from Aunt Lizzie.
Yes.
So that's part of like the casualness, the friendliness.
Yes, for sure. And it is not supposed to be like a comprehensive. It's supposed to be an example of just how to think as a Christian woman, how to work through issues. And I know a lot of parents will read it. I know I've heard from a lot of parents that was far more like, these are not things I've ever discussed with my children, or they're very surprised by something that was in there. And I think, you should talk to your daughters about these things.
So there's kind of the public school girl world, and then there's the Christian school girl world, which is largely what we've been, your kids have grown up in, all that stuff. What are some of the issues in the Christian school girl world that you're trying to get at?
Specifically in the book, I think I talk, so because it is a fictional setup that I'm writing to a group of girls, I'm actually writing, there's some letters to the organizer of a group of girls. So it's to one girl. That's more about friendship, leadership, how to deal with weird dynamics in the group. The ones that are to the whole group are engaging with questions or topics like modesty, or let's talk about, it's more like a discussion. And then there's I think one to an individual girl who's struggling with a porn problem, or where there's a one-off somebody
specific issues.
But so I would say there's all kinds of different things in that I think is important. The leadership, I think girls tend to think friendship is like a swimming pool. Once you're in it, you're obligated to stay in it. Like you can't just, and it's like, well, if someone in the pool is vomiting, you need to get out. And I think in Christian circles, parents are not good at how to negotiate that either. So your kids are friends with someone who's now choosing a different path, making bad decisions. And even the parents want everything to stay the same and no conflict and and so the pressure can all be on really bad decision making. The pressure is all on just act normal. Act like nothing's wrong, whatever. And I think
ignore the vomit in the pool.
Totally. And another common thing, and I think that this is both a parent problem and a teen girl raised in Christian circumstances, is the reality of sin doesn't go away just because you're in a Christian community.
That's right.
And many parents that weren't raised that way think my kids they have Christian friends, they're in a Christian school, they wouldn't struggle with the kinds of things that I struggled with. And that creates this bizarre thing where the kid who gets into sin feels very alone and like this is abnormal and can't tell anyone, can't get help. And I think that's just a weird dynamic. Sin is normal and it needs to be dealt with matter of factly. And I think that girls knowing that they probably have friends who have eating disorders is good. Like you actually need to be thinking in terms of like, we're not all just doing awesome all the time. So if I pick up on a signal, like, that's a weird music choice, or this is like, you should actually follow up on that. You shouldn't just assume it's all, we're all good.
At the very beginning, you say, I think it's in the introduction or the preface, you remember a scene of speaking to a bunch of women packed out in this maybe pre-conference thing, bunch of pregnant women, people holding babies. And you said you had this overwhelming sensation that this is a room full of power.
Yes.
And
it was.
And you use, and you use that word power. And then you say, and what I want to do with these letters is I want to tell teenage girls that they too are full of a lot of power.
Yes.
Which is maybe something unexpected for some Christian audiences. They're like, whoa, this is kind of a different kind of girl power.
Yes. Well, it's real. It's the one that God put in the world.
Yeah. So talk about that.
Not the girl power that everyone wants to think we're tapping into. Okay. So it was a particular situation at a conference. It was a homeschool conference, a big conference. And the title of the talk was Loving the Little Years, Motherhood in the Trenches, which tells you who it's going to draw into that room. But the room I was in was too small for how many people came to it. And it really was outrageous. It was like I was giving a talk and there were women on the floor around the podium, like sitting with children and standing in the back and kids in the aisles. But the amount of, you don't usually see that many pregnant women in one place, and you don't see all the babies or so tightly packed with no men between them with no, it was just like, what is happening in this room? Like it was so much life. And it was, that made me think of that wonderful Song of Solomon, the who is she who looks out? Is it fair as the morning, something terrible as an army with banners? It is, and it was terrible. It was that like, this is an intimidating force. Like, even though it's a longer term growth, you know, it's like, but it isn't. I mean, it was so much life, so much power. And And I think it's just, I do feel like Christian women have bought a lot into the victim mindset. Even women who are at home with their kids are feeling sorry for themselves about how hard it is. They're not appropriately seeing their role as a privilege and not a privilege in a I'm a martyr way, but a privilege in this is really significant. This is significant work and things are happening.
Right.
And so turning to the younger girls, I don't want these girls who are growing up, say they have their good churches, whatever. They're thinking, I want to be a mom because I'm gonna make cute pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, right.
Like I want to be a mom because I'm gonna get the cute outfits for my baby, and I will post thinking very little about it. So even if they want it, they're thinking it will be because it's cute or because it's, and they leave entirely out the reality of that it's hard work, that it's worth doing.
So a couple questions here. One is related to that power issue. Women are fooled and tricked today saying that the power is where the men are at.
Sure.
In the workforce, whatever. I was watching this Kentucky Derby series on Netflix. Actually, it was pretty good. I liked it. It's amazing. The Kentucky Derby, the horse venues are incredibly designed. Side note, but and there was all these male jockeys in there, and then they finally get to the episode where they have the female jockey, where they introduce her into it. And the thing that struck me was how she was like, I want to be out, I love being out here so I can show other women that they can beat men on the horse around the thingy.
Run horses around
the thingy.
Around the thing.
Right, but it's like, but no guy in the show said, I'm just so glad to be out here to show men can beat women.
I'm just trying to crush the dreams of women jockeys.
But whenever you see a woman in that kind of environment, that's usually like, oh, I want to prove that I can beat men and that other women can beat men, something like that. That kind of concept. And the thing that I kind of I was thinking through is like, fine if she's a horse jockey, I wouldn't want my daughters to do that and compete with men in that way, but whatever in that sense. But just the idea that like, I'm here, I'm showing other women that they can fulfill their dreams and beat men was just weird. Just that idea.
Well, it's such a low bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, it's like, really, like that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like you can
have horses poop around the waist and you get hit around the race, and
you're the kind of creature that can make another human being inside of you.
Yeah.
And you want to beat the guys, go faster than them around the
on a horse
around the thing.
Yeah. But that was the big bar.
Sure.
And that I think a lot of women kind of get fooled in that with the workforce and all that stuff. I want to be here. I want to be CEO so I can show other women that they can be CEO. Right. And so how do you already kind of push back against that culture for your daughters and at the same time encourage them in the, to cut with the grain in the way that God gives them power over time?
Right. Okay. This may seem like a offshoot, but this is something I've been thinking about recently because I do think it is in our circles or complementarian circles.
Mm-hmm.
So a little broader than ours.
Sure.
But anyone who thinks men and women have different roles and it's not egalitarian.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're all familiar with the teaching that men need respect and they thrive on respect and women need and thrive on love.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really easy to get from scripture. But one of the things that I think that people who accept that really miss is that women actually really, and I do think this is uniquely true of our community of women here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying this from personal experience in friendships, that we have a
I'm
lot.
Not trying to be rude. I just want you to be heard.
Even more.
Like a woman. I just want you to be heard.
Just get it right up in my face.
Yes.
Okay. So
about an inch away.
We have far more women's friendship that are based on respect and mutual respect than on love. And I think in evangelical circles, the idea that we accept women however they are and we express love, that's like what everyone thinks is what women need.
Mm-hmm.
Women actually need the respect of other women. They need the respect also of their husbands, but it's the respect of thinking that their work is significant or that it matters. But to woman, we have far more where there are women that you respect for different things, and it raises the whole level of what women expect from themselves. It's not come sit with me in my mess and accept me the way that I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you're really good at that. And that has inspired me to try to imitate that, to try to pursue the same thing. And that, like, And so I actually think that part of the problem is that we're making it, that we're like saying it's more impressive to, like it. I just understand the confusion is what I'm saying. I do think that even in the Christian world, women are not respected for the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
And it is not that I'm saying, oh, we all desperately need respect and no love. I do think women really need the love from their husbands, but they don't need it from a mentor. They don't need it from girlfriends. They don't need it it's a different thing.
Yeah.
And anyways, I think it's an interesting dynamic.
So you think respect is part of that? In that competition?
I think
in that
healthy female friendships have more to do with respecting the work another woman is doing in her home, for her family, with her children. And that encourages women to act stronger. Yeah. Like it is what fuels them, not just calling a friend to cry, calling a friend to have a hard time. I'm not saying that can never be done in a godly manner. It's not that. Yeah. I just mean in the normal scope of life, respecting the work of other women is far more strengthening. Yeah. And it is something that, I would say if I'm counseling a woman who's very discouraged, the best thing I can do for her is respect the work she's doing. Like saying, this
compliment her where she's doing it right.
It's hard because you're doing a great, this is hard because it's a hard job and you're doing a good job, and walk them through that, or respect what they're in some way or another, respect what they're doing. I think that we have a weird kind of women need. Well, just go to any regular evangelical church and go look at like the women's bathroom, or the way that we are like soft. Everything has to be, soft and.
So are you saying
pink,
with the respect thing and pink,
strange and sentimental,
enough pink? Yeah. Are you saying that respect? So basically, in some sense, women are going to go where they're getting respected.
Sometimes I think that's.
So a dad raises his daughter and he respects her ability on the basketball court or something, and so she's going to go that way. Are you saying respect is kind of feeding some of this direction in the power world?
I'm actually saying that respecting what God called women to do, and actually expecting women to show strength in an area that no man would have. And I don't mean by that default strength of just being a woman the way God made you. So like it's saying you're the kind of person who can make people. Most women are going to be like, yeah, but God does that. Yes, God made me to be a woman, but when you're pregnant, it's not like, oh, I kicked off my master plan and I'm doing this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm so capable, that's how I did this. You're like, God does that with your body. But the work of diligently raising those children, diligently throwing yourself into learning new things, pushing yourself, those are things that are uniquely the strength of women. So I actually think in raising your daughters, it's less just talking about it all and more that there should be tons and tons of fields in which they know that there's a long way to go to get good at that. Like there's a lot of work to do. Yeah. And I think that's in this book. Some is just sort of like, what are domestic skills that you should be pursuing, because you won't just have them. You don't just be a good cook. You actually have to. Yeah. You actually have to work at it. But once you are working at it, there's tons of area for actual achievement and respect and blessing people. And I'm not trying to make respect too big of a thing, but I think it's a big deal from the way parents treat their daughters, wanting to just pour on love and affection, no matter what she does. That's all she's getting from her parents, not just like.
Yeah. Can you apply this? I think this applies.
Wait. I got one quick thing.
No.
Derail this.
No.
What is Elon Musk robots going to do to the homemaker?
I don't care. It has nothing to do with my life.
Because if I could buy one, I would have it do my wife's laundry and do the floors and all that stuff. And
he's never seen iRobot, apparently.
No, but I
have. You really haven't. I had a Roomba one time for a hot second, and it couldn't live up to our life. It can't deal with what happens at the Jankovic house.
We have a Roomba, and the dog hair in our house, it can't handle it, but we still use it
under the couch all the time.
No,
I think
ours isn't.
I think when we got it, it drove by me with like 9 feet of craft paper stuck in it. I was like, it doesn't have a chance.
It's
in
not
going to
work.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about. So I think it's connected. The idea of this respect, and what about education for daughters?
Yeah, well, I'm a big advocate of education for daughters.
I know. So, but talk about this in terms of our weaknesses and our proclivities.
Ours is in our community, or ours is in, who are we talking about?
Yeah, well, I mean, the same category of people that are complementarian, who know we have differences, But you're
Yeah.
pointing out maybe a weakness that we sometimes, on a blind spot we have
Sure.
in terms of not respecting the work.
Well, okay. Yes, I would say that a woman who is well educated, but also values the work in the home. So you're well educated. You use your education all the time in the work of the home. It's very functional. You know what I mean? A good education is not something you're never going to refer to again. The amount of my life that is problem solving, like the amount that you're actually pulling on a lot of different things to try to figure out, raising children should tap into kind of a lot of your educational background, trying to figure out what's going on, thinking of things that you have read because you know how to read, because you have thought about issues and you understand cultural influences or what's like your education matters. So I would say, obviously we want our daughters to be well educated, but we want them to be very well educated so that they can turn a well educated mind to uniquely feminine work and uniquely feminine pursuits.
Yeah. How are you thinking about this at the college level? So you got daughters that are starting to enter college.
Yeah, we care about college too.
But we've got, a cesspool of a lot of modern universities that are basically,
devouring
preying on young ladies in particular.
Yeah.
And so a whole bunch of them are largely off the table for any thinking Christian. And at the same time, we aim to educate our daughters well.
Right. So yes, I would say don't without thinking send your daughters off to a godless institution. But in the same way, I'm guessing your audience probably already thinks that, right? So I'm probably talking to people who are like, amen, don't do that.
I think we largely probably have a lot of people who are thinking, I guess we can't send our daughters to any college.
Right. And better know education than education that has risks involved.
Right.
But the reality is that their risks are involved in life, not in, it's like what I was saying, the sin is a fact of life. Fighting sin it's of course you don't want to sign your daughter up for terrible influences.
Right.
But you can do that by leaving her in her bedroom.
Yeah.
You can do that by keeping her from everything and then throwing her into marriage and children where she has not been well educated. She doesn't know what's going on. She's falling into temptations and sins and doubts and doesn't know how to pastor herself out of things, doesn't know how to deal with temptations that she's never had before.
Yeah, right.
So honestly, all of parenting is just walking by faith with the Lord. And you're going to have to make decisions that feel risky, where you have to actively trust the Lord and actively work through it.
Yeah. Don't be dumb, or no time to be dumb. I like don't be dumb.
She's going to rename her book.
Yeah.
But no time to be dumb also kind of says, this is no time for women to be dumb, right? In a bigger sense, this is no time. You don't have time. And also this is no time.
This is not the moment for that.
This is not the time for that.
Yeah. We need you to be smart right now.
Pay attention.
There's this funny thing when it's different for men or boys, but when girls get into kind of the high school years, their emotions,
stable. So stable.
Yeah. So
Steady.
stable.
That's the word you're looking for? Stable?
Thank you, Rachel. It's gonna be worse. Trust me. But one of the things I see is that there's a challenge to be joyful, and it's like you're in high school, your parents still do almost everything. What's wrong in your life that you're kind of struggling with this challenge of being joyful. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, I do.
So how do girls not be dumb in that area?
Well, it's a very specific question, but I would say actually this is the kind of thing. This is a good example. A lot of times parents get in that position like, well, I'm the grown up and I understand this. But the reality is we're doing exactly the same thing, just at a little bit of a higher level. Like we would be like, well, I have real burdens. And you're like, but also we're not the way our grandparents were during World War II or the way, we're also, wow, there it went.
You don't have to worry about it. You can just let it hang down if you want.
They're not we're not in a concentration camp.
No, and the difficulties that we think we can fuss about and be joyless about are still always going to compare to someone else as nothing.
My favorite with my kids is we never had AC in our station wagon in Texas.
Yeah, that's what you remind.
You got AC now in this Tahoe driving around Moscow, and it's 80 degrees.
Out, do you?
It's very effective.
That helps a lot, huh?
Wins friends.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah, that's what you're doing.
You were gonna finish.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, what was I gonna?
I don't know. Was there anything
We were
else?
talking about don't be done with emotions and be joyful. And
I actually just think that this is what parents need to be doing, is not thinking I'm so far ahead of them, but let me show you how we are walking through the same things.
Yeah.
Right. How this is what we're doing, like what every Christian is doing.
Lead by doing it.
Yeah. And that there's no really unique, I don't want to get on too many rabbit trails because people are different, people are different everywhere. But one of the things that I do think is not helpful is assuming that the teenage years have to be explosive and emotional.
Right.
Yeah.
They are not necessarily that way.
No, right.
The reality, and I can say that having had, they're not a lot of their teen years, but having had a lot of teenagers, I'm almost on my second stretch of 5 teenagers in my house at the same time. And it's not an emotionally unstable time. It's not explosive. It doesn't, like, of course there are different temptations. And of course things, I'm not trying to pretend it's a sinless time, but sometimes the expectation that we're going to have fights and we're going to and you're a teenager now, so you'll probably slam your bedroom door and storm off. It's way better to just not expect that. To be like, we're not doing that.
And I guess more what I'm getting at is like, it's just kind of this, comfortable, and just not being. I don't need to be. I don't even need to see like a bubbly high schooler. It's just like kind of the more like just smile, just go around, be happy and look happy with what God's doing in your life and who you're surrounded with, and But more it's like apathy that can come in our community.
But I think a lot of that tone is set by the parents.
Yeah.
I think mom and dad, like I always tell parents, like, especially when they're in the trenches, like one of the things I like to say is, you are giving your kids what you and your wife have.
Yeah.
And so like, I mean that as an encouragement largely because like, how are things with you and your wife? Are they sweet? Right. Are they happy? Then don't give up hope. You're changing diapers and spanking a lot of bottoms right now, but you really are giving them that fellowship that you have. But at the same time, if you and your wife are at odds and things are kind of gnarly between the two of you, you can't have a false hope that somehow you're going to give your kids something different.
Right.
And I would say one thing, this is just it's so vague because you're like, who are we talking about? What is this family? Who is this sullen teenager? I mean, I don't know. A lot could be going on. But one thing I would encourage parents to do is not treat it as inconsequential if you have a kid who's struggling with joy. And the reason I would say that is because maybe you need to do a little more thorough research about those friends that you've been hanging out with. What are you doing? Like, what is being talked about? Is there actually a sin tangle in here? And you have an unhappy child because it's actually an unhappy situation that they are in.
Something.
And they actually need the pastoral work of someone digging on that, not just saying, hey, put a smile on your face or whatever, because sometimes you're like, you don't seem so happy. Like there's something weighing on you. There's something in there. So I would say pursue it in a
that's good.
Exploratory. And with teenagers, it is important to ask the Lord to give you a lead, ask for something to follow, to dig.
You cover a lot of topics in this book.
I was just going to start going through them. How not to be dumb here.
No.
Not to be dumb here.
No. We're not doing that.
Don't be dumb here.
What? That would be dumb, Gabe. I'm kidding.
We really don't have time for that, Gabe.
We don't have time for that, Gabe.
We don't.
What do you think will be some of the most surprising chapters for some people?
Probably when I tell girls to keep their hands to themselves with each other.
Okay.
Stop playing with each other's hair.
Yeah.
Don't be hugging each other all the time. Yeah. Don't be sitting on each other's laps. That is not common everywhere, but it is very common in some Christian circles, some cultural.
Yeah. Okay. So explain this. Is this what you call handsiness?
Yeah.
This is the handsiness.
I would just say it is foolish to start physical relationships that have no godly outlet.
Right.
I think it's very common.
But that sounds like you're saying this is creeping lesbianism.
It is totally. And, but I don't think that every girl that gets involved in that has any idea that that's actually what it is.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it is. I think it is an unhealthy thing that can become very normal in groups of girls. It can become kind of like, oh, we're very we're such good friends. We're very lovey and supportive.
We cuddle and
yes. And I'm, whatever.
Yeah. What's the driver of that? I've always thought it was weird growing up and even in college and watching
I know it is weird. That's
Yeah.
why you thought it was weird.
Yeah,
It is weird behavior.
Yeah.
I think it's just that the girls are needy.
Yeah.
And the reality is that if you start, I mean, this is again, Song of Solomon, do not stir up or awaken love until it pleases.
Yeah.
Don't start physical relationships.
Yeah.
Don't start being dependent on someone giving you a hug to feel better when there is no good, healthy, lawful outlet for that. And with girls, a lot of it is just wanting to feel wanted or included or safe or whatever. It's just or it can just be this appears to be what's normal. So
you have, I mean, your dad and your grandpa has taught, for years that, a lot of this too is an empty tank from dad.
Yeah.
Particularly like there's
dad has its own affection.
Yeah. There is lawful and good, healthy physical affection from dad.
Yeah.
Dad hugs, dad,
But even there, I would say it would be very weird for a dad to be constantly snuggling with his team. There actually should be a distancing when you have a toddler. Yes. When there should be a physical distancing as you grow up. And that need is not something that you should be filling with little fillers until you have a husband.
Yeah.
And I think it is, I think it's just a temptation that girls who have no interest in being a lesbian don't realize is a temptation, or wouldn't realize it could be a temptation for a friend because it's not for them. It's not, there's nothing there. I think that's just a foolish behavior. I would say the other thing is that I don't know the name of the chapter. The other thing I would expect people to not be sure what they think about in Christian circles is just not being imposed on by boys, not being pushed into things. Now, people would not.
What do you mean imposed on by boys?
Being imposed on by boys. I mean, like someone.
She means not being imposed on by boys.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Sometimes in
you guys
Christian,
are treating me like I'm dumb.
I would actually say it's what the world would call microaggressions.
Okay.
And I had one when they started using those terms. I thought that was really funny because I'm like, we've been talking about this for a long time, which is girls need to say no and resist things. And and girls don't like being awkward. They don't like, when a guy that you maybe like, and I mean, I don't mean romantically, you just don't want to make things weird.
Yeah.
And boys love to push boundaries with girls.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's all part of the mystery of life. I don't think it's a big, it's not like a monster problem that a guy likes to make a girl blush or likes to push the envelope a little bit, but she absolutely should be able to hold her own, not let any.
And you're talking about things like, we're going out to play volleyball and you have to come, or can you tell me, can you help me with homework?
Or you're sitting on a couch and he comes and sits down too close next to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the girl's freeze up. I actually didn't want, why are we doing this? How did this happen? And then it feels so awkward. I can't be the one to make this
if
so
I
weird.
get up and leave, it's gonna be weird.
I can't be the one to do this or, all kind. I mean,
but she needs to be the kind of woman that says, well, have a nice day.
Yes.
And gets up.
Or just things I used random examples that I lived through that are not important. Okay. So I'm putting this as these were not big deals.
Yeah.
A guy just taking your coffee and drinking out of it. And you're like, since when do we share drinks?
Yeah,
did I, what led you to believe
we had that kind of relationship?
Right. But the problem is you didn't expect it. It happens all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You're like, now I have to be the rude girl.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was this just the way he treats friends? Is he just trying to be
Is he
nice?
flirting with you?
Is he just what's happening? And the reality is you just have to be like, it's yours now.
Right.
Let him be the coffee thief.
Yeah.
Let him be the one that did the weird thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And just kind of it's on you.
That's good.
But all of that kind of thing, some people I know said when they're letters to teenage girls, I hope you talked about all of the, sexual predators in the church or whatever.
Yeah.
There is no chapter on that.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a chapter on that. This is all about
but that is saying no.
Right.
Yes, but it's saying no to way more people than actual just major predators.
Yeah.
Right.
But having boundaries, having lines, knowing that you should be awkward
Yeah.
all the time.
That is protecting
That
young
is
ladies.
wildly protective.
right.
Right.
That's right.
So just
we have a culture, a conservative Christian culture even that's so friendly that we don't realize that is actually asking, back to the, cuddles or, just go along with it, be overly friendly.
It's asking for a predator.
That's actually opening the possibility for
One
that.
of my daughters was just telling me how a guy told her he did not like her. And it was very funny. She was really laughing about it. But he was like, because none of the other girls I know make fun of me if I use the wrong word or won't let, or like basically I am accustomed to girls giving me compliments and admiring me.
Right.
And how dare you not do that?
Yeah.
And she just, I'm happy to fill that role in your life. Like she's like, that's, you definitely needed someone. And this is a thing I would say in, because I do believe this is a big advantage of a school. But I do also, whatever. But I do believe it's an advantage of a school that your daughters do not owe respect. They do not owe respect to the other than basic Christian respect.
Charity.
Civility. Yeah.
No, but they have no obligation to respect the boys in their class.
Yeah.
And the boys have no obligation to love them.
Yeah.
But if you're only in your family all the time, you actually do have some of that obligations for, and I don't mean like, I'm not making my daughters write respect letters to their brother or anything. But if they were being really disrespectful to their brother, that would be a thing we would be like, you should not do that.
Yeah.
But it's really good for boys to be around girls that owe them nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
and even better if the girls owe them nothing and don't give it to
And
them.
don't give them anything.
and don't let them
It toughens a man up in a good way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the imposing on you is in all ways. It's if a girlfriend is being weird to you, being able to say, no, I don't want to do, like, that's not, no.
Right.
And if boys are pushing things.
Okay. So
I want to talk drama.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Talk drama.
Drama.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, from my I haven't read that. So
Theater?
This is where not theater.
Acting?
Drama in relationships, drama
Sure.
and I mean this goes from families to friends. It's all
Sure.
drama's drama.
What?
I hated drama so much, and particularly in college, I had a group of friends. They were all Christian, solid. But I started making fun of their drama that they just
Right.
self-create things. I'm
Always
like,
something.
why are we
happening.
doing this? Yeah. And so the word drama became kind of frustrating to them because I made fun of it so much. But how do you I don't know. I'll just drama. Start.
Wow.
No
Okay.
question.
It sounds like you have a pretty particular thing in mind, but I would
No,
say,
I don't. Actually, I don't have a particular thing in mind. I just like because drama is not particular in a lot of ways. It just happens from all different angles and emotions and relationships and
right. I think women have a problem with this in that it is hard to imagine life being interesting without relational events.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so
you almost need it and want it. And you
Right.
see that in some
And
girls. You'll see some girls that like drama just follows them all around.
yes, but
Yeah.
I think it's really common in wives who are, or when you're a mother with a bunch of little kids at home.
Mhm.
It's a uniquely lonely. That's a really lonely time.
Mhm.
And it's funny because you're so surrounded by people.
Yeah.
But it's no one who would understand knows what's happening. And you'll never be able to tell it in a way that will ever connect with anyone.
Right.
But it is so difficult. There are really long times that feel very lonely where you're like, no one understands me, whatever.
Mhm.
The temptation is to then have an event to make yourself the real focus of your husband, right?
Okay.
Like, this was hard, but also I really need adult attention.
Mhm.
I really need interaction.
Yeah.
And if your husband comes home from work and he's just tired and he wants to and you're like, no.
Yeah. Pay attention to me.
We
Yeah.
have, and it's like, but about what? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Like, it's almost like there's a void there. And
So you have to create a drama. You got to create this moment of the
Right.
splash so that there's something.
right. And there's a lot of, I think that there are bad habits that you can get into very easily that way. But a big part of it is just walking by faith that actually letting love cover something, like say you're provoked by someone, letting love cover it is actually better for the relationship than having a big thing that makes you feel like it's alive, right? That makes you like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of, teenage girls get into this, but I think just people of all ages kind of are like this, and women more because they're so relationally oriented. So sometimes it's like, I don't feel like anyone cares about me, so I need to do something to notice that they care about me. So I'm going to do a big naughty and that'll prove that they still love me, you know, like that. I'll get something. So I think that it's a bad habit. And actually I only just became aware of this after, and I don't even really know what I think about it. So I'm just going to bring it up on the air. You know, why not?
Okay.
But I guess it's a term that some psychologist.
Drama is the term?
No, it's called limerence, but it's interesting because it is like a psychological problem, but it is basically what I would have called stupid crushes, like having crazy, almost obsessive crushes with someone. But it's the highs and the lows. It's the both. So, oh my gosh, what will he think of me if I did this? Or what would he think of this? Or what? And it's having some object, some person that it's like not tethered to reality. It's like a whole
all in your head.
thing. Yeah. And then something happens that's conclusive. He doesn't like you and it's spiraling out of control in a different direction. And it's all very malicious and everything is very bad. And it's very obsessive behavior. Yeah. It's also super common. It's just as an interesting volatility. What I thought was bizarre about it was this is actually a dopamine addiction. It's actually you having intense feelings, even if they're imaginary, is giving you a dopamine.
And it mentally feels good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is just another reason to say emotional self-control is where it's at.
Right.
Like
don't do drugs.
And
don't do drugs.
And
don't do dopamine.
rig yourself in at the outset. Like don't do a lot of this relational drama in your head either. Like just because it makes you feel something, feel important or feel, you know, whatever.
So you have a chapter on homemaking.
Yeah.
You know, my oldest daughter is 14 and a half. When you're raising your kids, you have boys and girls, and you want to make sure you're raising them in the grain that God cut them. Yes. You want to make distinctions. Well, but you're also, you know, just in high school doing math, and you know, how do you have that conversation or encourage that direction in your daughters? You know, at kind of the high school age?
There's a lot of ways to encourage that, I would say, all over the place. But the biggest one is going to be mom doing it and allowing opportunities. So like there's a big funny thing that I noticed is as soon as you have daughters all in the kitchen and they're like want to do stuff, they don't want to come be your sous chef. Yeah. They want to come be the chef.
Right.
Yeah. And you're like, hang on. I was thinking you would like to wipe the counters and do the dishes. And you're like, actually, that's my job. Like my role is now to support you getting to love these things. Yeah. And that's very different than training understudies.
That's good. Yeah.
Like it's very different. And I think the more mom is focused on my job is to make our home run really smoothly, the more you don't notice those things. The more you're like, oh, you could raise up a bunch of daughters thinking they're all very domestic where it's actually just kind of drudgery to them because they have to come. They don't have the creative fun of deciding what they wanted to do, putting themselves into it. So I think it's harder to be the mom in that, but it does inspire a lot more.
Well, that's just like a typical parent temptation with your boys and with your daughters, where it's like, I need you to go, I'm going to teach you how to mow the yard. But then you start teaching them, it's like, oh, now you're wasting my time. You know, it's you're mowing the yard wrong, or I'm going
to teach you to do the jobs I don't want to do,
right?
Which is not the same thing as I'm going to let you do the parts that are the same things that got my imaginative excitement about it. So of course I should want you to do those things.
And then the other temptation there is like, I don't have time to have you learn how to make the pizza yet. Or whatever.
Yeah, that's because it's a lot messier to have kids than you thought it was going to be. And in your imagination, I would think I would like to teach my daughters to sew, but I never have time for as much of an orderly, thought out plan. So what has happened is that they learn to do these things in a what feels very chaotic and crazy. And the way that they learn it is by me saying, yes, do it. And that's so fun. And I didn't still have time to teach you.
Right.
I still didn't pull off that wonderful retreat we were going to have where I thought this all out, but instead you're learning it and doing it yourself. And it's just messier.
So, I mean, no time to be dumb. So you are thinking about this moment. You said this earlier. You said in the title, it's like, this is no time. Not now.
No, not
now. Why? What about this moment?
Look about you in civilization and how badly do we need to rebuild faithful families, homes, culture. Women are huge, I mean, disproportionately large part of building culture.
Right.
And women who really throw themselves into the fun of being women. really make things like quickly happens. Like
rattle off a bunch of what you mean by that. Like, I mean, what are you thinking in terms of here are the ways you are disproportionately culture makers?
Okay, so think about any culture that you think of. What's one of the biggest features that people bring up? Food. It's always food. Regional food.
Yes.
Things
Thank you, Jesus.
No, but I mean, what do we do as a people? Food is a big part of it. Well, I have fun friends. There's a lot of fun ladies here. There's a lot of very high power, fun, delightful women here. And what happens is someone does something cool. Someone is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a beautiful pastry, like a really beautiful one. And it's going to be like a 3-day process.
Right.
And I am going to turn out the coolest pastry you ever saw in your life.
Right.
And do you know what happens immediately when that happens?
Yeah.
Is everyone's like, I better try that.
Yeah.
It is like, it is. And not everything that comes up does not sweep across everyone. But it sweeps across some portion of the crowd. And then some things really go all the way. And you feel like, oh, this is actually a distinctive thing of our community now.
Yeah.
Even before COVID, sourdough was that here.
Yeah,
so even before sourdough became that way for everyone, it happened here. But there's a lot of things like that over time have become normal, right? Over time have become what we've raised a bunch of children here who feel like good food at your home table is normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like someone who actually can figure stuff out.
You mean barbecue? Good food at your table, barbecue.
Yes, that also barbecue also is normal. But specifically being as a man, since we had little kids, tons of women who have done different things, but Advent is the whole month of December is
huge.
a wild celebratory building crazy time because a whole bunch of women have made it exciting at home, have done things to be like, this is the rhythm of how we celebrate. So that is a cultural, and if you forget that homes actually are turning out people, you know, you think any movie, any book, you meet a character, when you find out their backstory, it's like, and you think, what backstories are we giving people? Like tables full of joy, Christmas being a big deal. It's like, it really is culture building. So, and that's a really little window of things that I've seen change here.
I was thinking about Sabbath dinners. I mean, that's another thing that the kids just growing up and like, of course you get together with a pile of people
on Sunday,
every weekend, every Saturday night, every Sunday, we get together, we have a bunch of good food and hang out and have a blast. And they're like, that's just normal.
Yes.
And now those kids have that backstory in a way that they're going to bring that into their families. Of course, that's what we do.
100%. And that these are the things that are made normal by mothers who had to push themselves beyond what they knew to be normal when they first did it. So, and that is it is an interesting thing. It's like, okay, I want to say, as a mother who's done a lot of stuff through the years, all the time, you're like, let's try this. And we didn't like it. Like, it's not like you think of the perfect thing, you do it and it sticks with you forever.
Oh, no.
You try things. You're like, oh, let's do this. And that didn't stick. And then the thing that that's actually how I got into making very elaborate Danishes Christmas morning, is it was a thing I meant to try sometime. And then I did it our first year when we were married, and we were like, those are really good, but it was just the two of us and we really didn't need a ton of pastries in the morning.
20 pastries.
And when we were going straight over to my mom's to have another brunch. So whatever, I didn't do it for a few years, came back to it when we had a group of little kids. I was like, I should make Danishes again. And I made them. And it was so funny that the instant result was all of my children being like, this is who we are. This is us. This has captured our essence. And I've never had a Christmas off since
without
then.
Danishes.
And I was like, why did I pick that? That I had to do something laminating the butter and doing it through all this time. But it is so important to Christmas now. And we just landed on it all of a sudden.
You talked about just a minute ago about, the idea that, a gal does something, makes pastries, sourdough, whatever it is, and then a bunch of other ladies are like, I'm going to try that. I bet I could do that. There's a kind of glorious, good competition.
Yeah, well, I would say it ties into what I was saying about women thriving on respect.
Yes.
And not thriving on it. I'm not trying to like cancel other things that we already believe. I just mean that's a really healthy friendship, shoulder to shoulder pattern for women. And it's interesting because the common goal is culture building.
Yeah.
It is community building and culture building. But it is 100% like, that's awesome. Tell me how, like, I want to know. And one thing I would say is super cool. I like how I pause sometimes because I'm like, am I about to offend people? I don't think I am. I don't think this is going to make your listeners mad. But it's not, I would say it's not a healthy cultural thing. I would say this is Southern, but it really is probably anywhere that state fairs have happened for a long time. The super secret recipe, or the when you won't share a recipe for something. Because you actually want to be the one who sits on top of the pile of, I am the one that does this best and nobody else can do it like me.
Right.
It is a common thing to not give the real recipe to people, or to mess it up so that when they make it, it won't be as good.
Right.
And that's just ungodly, but it's weird. You know what I mean? But it's not culture building.
Right.
And so one of the things that is super fun about being in a big community of women is that you don't do something and then that's enough forever.
Right.
You do something and then it's so normal.
Right.
Like, because other people are doing it, that you're like, well, for a special thing we should do. And I think over the years, the bar just keeps getting higher and the fun gets bigger. The women are enjoying it more. Things are just, it just is really encouraging.
I was thinking of Hebrews 10, where it says, let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works. Just that idea though, of provoking one another in a good way. In Romans 11, Paul talks this way about even just the gospel. Like, God is giving the gospel to the Gentiles in order to provoke the Jews to jealousy. Yeah. There's a good kind of jealousy that says, my father gave that gift to that friend of mine. I wonder if I could have that gift too. Yeah. Because God is that kind of God. He gives that kind of gift.
Yes.
And so it's provoking. Like, I want beauty. I want joy. I want this satisfaction. And I serve a God that multiplies these gifts. And then you're building something together.
Totally. And I think that there's basic spiritual principles that matter, that we're not actually competing with each other, that we're also open-handed with our efforts. There's a lot of like, keep it cool, ladies. Don't be. Yeah. And I feel like that has happened very naturally, but I wouldn't want to give people the impression that we love to out-compete each other or be because it isn't that way.
It's not throwing elbows.
And everything is optional. Nobody would ever be like, why aren't you making French pastries? But at the same time, people jump into different things. Yeah. Like, we have women in our community who are excellent gardeners, and women like myself who are not at all, but would like to be sometime. And I'm always like putting a bookmark in it. Like, I will come around and I will then want to know what you have to say about this, but I'm not there yet. You know, like, I have other stuff going right now.
Yeah, that's right. So the last two chapters, and these are the last couple of questions, if you got some, sure. Last two chapters, you hit on first leadership, chapter 21. People don't think women are leaders.
Well, people are dumb.
How do you are addressing the girls in terms of leadership?
Okay, because somebody asked me this in the webinar I did, like, but what if I don't want to be a leader, even in my friend group? And I'm like, you don't have to go about your life trying to be a leader in every situation. Yeah. But God will call everyone to have to be a leader somewhere, sometime
in a situation.
And if you have children ever, you need some leadership skills. And that is absolutely what it is with little kids, because you need the leadership skill of them wanting to come along with you. Yeah. Almost every girl will need the leadership skill of turning the ship of friendship sometime when things are going gossipy or going stupid or going like, you can't actually be there silently and not bear responsibility for that before God. Like, so if you're in that situation, like being awkward with someone, you're required by God to do something, and so it's worse to think, I'll never be called to be a leader, so I'm not going to deal with it. It's not like be a leader. I'm not saying be a leader in your family, take over for your dad. I'm not saying be a leader in your future marriage, take over for your husband, but I'm saying you have to be accustomed to the fact that you will bear responsibility of leadership. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, and the temptation, because there are people in our circles, in the broader Christendom circles, where they don't even think their daughter should go to college. Like, you get an 8th grade education, or maybe high school, or whatever, and you don't go to college. So I think some areas in this conversation, we set the bar low for our women, where we don't, you don't need to be a leader, or don't think that way. Yeah, you're thinking masculine.
But whenever people do that, it's because they want the bar to be easier for men, and it is not. It is not about the women.
Yeah.
It just is about, we don't want to have to work as hard as if women were
now we're in trouble.
Well,
now
like,
we're in trouble.
If women were using their
Yeah.
whole minds, then I wouldn't be able to not use mine, right? Like if women were fully engaged, like, and if you think about it, women are capable. Like if you think about this, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength.
Right.
And you think, take any woman and get her to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And would she be really easy to deal? Like,
no.
Like, and it's like, so she would require a man who's doing the same thing, which is a very high bar.
Right.
And the idea of just saying, well, women are supposed to submit to their husbands. So let's make sure we keep them at a nice
docile,
at a nice low level where I can just be an online troll and be the spiritual leader of the family or whatever. And it's just a horribly low standard for everyone. It's not really just for the, I don't think it's a low standard just for the women. It's just bring it all down.
That was one of the things that attracted me to my wife so much when we met, was just how capable she was and how much strength she had in her. I knew it was going to be hard to lead her.
I was thinking too, like, I mean, in a weird sort of way, I don't know much about it, but I saw that Pastor Doug blogged about it, but there was a debate with them. James White and Corey Mailer about like, can black people be as sanctified as white people?
Can women be as sanctified as
well?
men?
That's what I was thinking about. I was like, I think in an odd way, I think there's sometimes maybe an assumption that like, well, yeah, we're both being sanctified, but
you're a woman.
But there's kind of a ceiling.
I have seen, and I have even seen some of this where men are. It's actually, I think it's more a version of the noble savage thing that they think women, and I think it's really weird. Because I think they think that if women are not educated, they're innocent. That there's some kind of innocence like that. And so I have seen men kind of boasting about the ignorance of their wives, but in a way that's putting it forward as like
a virtue.
Isn't this precious and innocent and cute
and
that
sweet.
Or whatever, but they'll do that. And I think it has more to do. It's actually really an interesting phenomenon, one that has puzzled me. I have spent time thinking about that one, but it is weird because it shouldn't flatter him.
Right.
Like to be like, this is my wife. She's such a dummy, she's, you think like, why are you sharing this? But then it's really weird because when people respond with kind of like, that's so innocent, it's so pure, she's just at home making bread, but she's not at all. And that he is receiving it as a wild compliment. And like, yes, she is innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she is kind of pure and unfallen in some strange way. And that's just a weird philosophy, weird stuff. But it's the same thing that makes people talk about not having stuff about predators or whatever. It's the same thing that would talk to young girls like their own sin isn't the enemy, that you couldn't be preyed upon by your own vanity, by your own, like that the predator can be you too.
Yeah.
Like you can be like, so let's just all be apprised. That's also a
there
problem.
are dangers everywhere.
And right with you all the time.
And I think some of your points about the simplicity, boasting in a simple woman or whatever, plays into like, it's weird in the online's not real. I mean, we know Twitter's not real, but there's this world in Christian circles where like, if you're a woman who does something outside of the home, you are not a Proverbs 31 woman. Well, I don't know how to get that.
A lot of people tell me I am too a pastor because I've ever said something strongly or or you
wrote a book. You're teaching. You're teaching. You're writing a book.
That's what I do.
But it's like this. Like we've goes back to that. We've had such a low bar, or these guys that do this. It's like you have such a low bar for your woman, and being a homemaker, and how Proverbs 31 lays it out. It's like, well, they reduce everything to like, she stays home all day and she doesn't leave the house. She's a real homemaker. She's the the best of the best homemaker. and you look at Proverbs 31 and it's like, well, this wife is like buying property and doing all these. I mean, she's got muscles on her arms. She's strong. She's got strong arms. She's not a lazy woman at all, and she's doing way more. And of course, it all has to center around her calling in the home. But I guess I'm just kind of getting at this
I
kind of
think
internet phenomenon where like the bar for the wives are so low.
I think what you're talking about though is really just the cultural pendulum swing,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it really is like we do extremes
workforce
in
woman
every
to
direction.
yes.
Because it's
Very
also a
much.
joke
Very
to
much.
think that women should be working full time,
Very
boss
much.
babes,
Yeah.
and then be like, that is the domestic ideal. It's like, well, not really.
No.
Like
That's
we
good.
have to find the faithful path, which is oftentimes unpredictable and doesn't look the same way.
Yeah.
And doesn't have this, and that's good. I mean, we should all be comfortable with the fact that God made people very different.
Yeah.
Right.
And they all do different things.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. The pendulum swings. That's really good. So the last question here, last chapter is dangerous women. What is a dangerous woman?
Well, I just think a woman who fears the Lord, or like we were just talking about, loving the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, is like, what can God do with women like that?
Yeah.
And the exciting part, like when I talked about that little preview I got of women in that one talk.
Yeah.
The exciting part of that is that I don't think we've really seen it. I don't think we even know what kind of a force that actually is. Like sometimes you get these little glimpses, but it's something that we haven't lived through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and for some of us, we got to live through something very beautiful that the Lord did in kind of the Jesus people major revival of the set. Like there are things that we saw, but we have not seen a kingdom building, Christendom minded, domestic, faithful women and mothers. And that when you start to see little pods of it or little glimpses of it, you think this is like a weapon that we don't even know about.
Right.
Like we don't have a category to put this in. Like this is so powerful and so world shaping. And it is, I don't have a clear vision of what I think it is, but I know in God's hands that it is very dangerous to the world, to the enemy. It's like,
in Screwtape Letters, C.S. Lewis, in the mouth of the I don't know, worm tongue, the demon master is telling his understudy, he says, they don't know that the church is this glorious army with banners unfurled that's terrifying.
Yeah.
So don't let them even get a glimpse of that. Remind them of, the annoying person in the pew next to them. Remind them of the people that complain. Remind them of all the petty annoyances so they never get a glimpse of the terrible army that the Christian church is.
That's so good, Toby.
And I think there's something very similar that you're pointing out here about the army of mothers and wives.
Well, it's just it's an extension of the husband loves his wife as Christ loves the church.
That's right. That's right.
A woman with a bunch of children is actually a pretty good picture of the church
right.
in the sense of looking out for the needy,
yeah.
disciplining people, teaching people. Like it's a whole little thing. But you're right. We don't often see the glory. And I think that's why, God made it so we wouldn't see it. So we have to walk by faith.
That's good.
And trust him and do it.
Yep.
But at the same time, you do need to trust him that he's not just pulling you through a really hard time for no reason or
One of my favorite glimpses of it from our community was at the Psalm Sing arrests, when the day after Gabe and the Bonets were arrested, the elders met and said, we got to go back. They arrested our people. We're going to stand our ground. And the Kirker ladies group, these ladies are like, if I get arrested, will you take my kids? And if I get arrested, will you take my kids? I got your kids. I got your kids. And we show up, 600 or 800 people. There's not a cop in sight, but all these faithful women.
Sure.
To go sing psalms. And again, it's a glorious thing for men and women to do. And they were being, there was this glorious femininity of like, if I'm in prison for a little while, take my kids.
Make sure we've lined up the sitter in case I'm going in the clink.
I will always remember that. But just a glimpse of that's glory right there. It's absolute glory right there. Aunt Lizzie.
Yes.
Thank you for writing this book.
Yes.
Yes.
No time to be dumb
just to be clear,
don't
I'm
be
not
dumb.
your Aunt Lizzie.
No. She's Aunt Lizzie in the book.
I don't expect you to call me that from here on out.
Just going with the role.
That's her new stage name for us. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. If you have kids, go baptize them and tell them tomorrow. No, next week, Monday, actually. Go love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic. Rachel, thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Hi, my name's Justin Johnson.
And I'm Josiah Stowe.
And we are Dominion Wealth Strategists. We are created to put money in the hands of those that are sitting in the pews.
From budgeting to estate planning, savings accounts, retirement planning, life insurance, and a heck of a lot more here at Dominion.
That means that you are leaving an inheritance that passes multiple generations because that is the legacy. It's part of our mission.
All of Christ for all of life.
And all of finance for Christendom.